Namaste. Namaste. Hi, Mary. We'll wait a few moments to bring our community together today. This family of humans choosing to sit together. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Liz. Nice to see you guys. Hey, Meredith. These times of coming together, right? I don't know. None of us know when we might see each other in person again, right? And because this is such a, a global virtual experience, I might not, right? I might not see you guys, right? In person. So we have this, right? We have this, right? So I hope you're all doing well today. I'm happy to see you in this forum, in this format. As always, take a moment. Just kind of realize where you are, what space you're in your home or your outdoors. Hi, Heather. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, Heather. Hopefully I am. I think she's coming to us from her workplace, which is just so cool, that people can transmit, right? To just take a break and plug in, right? To get connected to us, right? This human family, right? So take a moment, realize where you are. Where are you right now, right? Clue yourself into your reality. It's so important that you check in, notice where you are, right? To be here now, right? To stop the kind of spirally haze and grow more present. Where are you right now? Be here now. And then check in and see how you're feeling internally and see if you might merge the physical environment and your physical space, right? So that they become a state of oneness. And so that what you're able to offer us as a community of humans is your authentic self today. Your authentic self today. I think that is so important, right? How often does the judgmental, critical mind show up and, oh, I'm too depressed, I'm too angry, I'm too this, I'm too that, to show up, to be of service to fellow man, to show my true self, right? Honor your authentic self in this moment in time as a fellow human, right? Because we're all going through so much, right? There's so much to process, right? And how wonderful that we get to do that together. Okay, let us tune in. Breathe in. Namaste. I have this image that's revisiting itself with me. So I figure that seems like a good thing to share. I'm so incredibly spiritually activated through this crisis, which is an incredible gift. And there's just always so much going through me and so much that I want to offer and share. And I have to figure out, take a moment. I'm like, okay, what's it going to be today? What's coming through today in the moment? But so much is kind of getting downloaded through these experiences. So I have this image that's kind of stuck with me of this little boy walking with his mama and just stopping to pick up a leaf on the ground. And it's been fairly windy here where we are, where Shakti is. So there are a lot of leaves. There's many leaves for this young boy to choose. And for whatever reason, as he was strolling down the sidewalk, he chose to pick up this one leaf. Didn't seem like a pretty big deal, kind of mundane, average scene that each and every one of us have witnessed 100 times over, right? Again and again. And, I was thinking about, as a child, the kind of innocence of a child's mind, the kind of, if you will, the openness of the child's mind. Him picking up that leaf was this recognition of accessibility and connection, that he was part in some ways of that leaf. It wasn't like he stopped and looked around and said, I like that leaf the best. I'm going to stop and select that leaf. I do not prefer those leaves. I don't want that stick. I've chosen to walk past that, whatever paper bag, whatever's on the street, right? It's just this kind of like general, broad openness to pretty much everything that's around a young child, right? You watch them for a little while. They don't know yet boundaries and limitations. They'll reach for a knife the way they might reach for the leaf and not yet understand that there are things that might put the child in danger. They know not yet limitations, right? And they really don't know yet preference. I mean, for the most part, they might have like a stuffed animal that scares them or whatever, and they don't want that. But for the most part, young beings, which we all were, as this collective of human family that we are, young beings do not yet know selectivity. They do not yet know preference. And as we mature, of course, the selective mind starts to take over, and we often have a tendency to live with preference, right? And this isn't bad. It's just a tendency that we have as the human collective, right? We are gravitated toward what we prefer, right? Makes sense, right? Right? I prefer sunshine, warmth, and ocean. That's where I would like to be. That's where I would like to send my energy and direct my attention toward, right? So the thing is that when we start to live in that world of selectivity, when we start to allow the preference to rule, when we allow the preference to rule, it's very natural for segregation and separation to occur, right? I like sunshine, I don't like damp, cloudy, weather, what have you, right? And then there's this kind of line. I want to be over here, and I don't want to be over here. I only want to be on this side of the line, right? So we start to kind of organize and manage our lives in such a way that we move toward the preference and we stay away from what we don't like. Still very natural, stuff that we just want to be aware of and pay attention to. And how it gets in the way, how it creates issue for us as spiritual beings, as human beings, right? We're all spiritual beings, whether we realize it or not, because we are all of spirit and of creation. Basically, anything that is not material is spiritual, right? We are not material beings, right? Got a lot going on up there today. So, as we prefer, we have a tendency to then be led toward separation and segregation. Going back to this young child and his kind of sans, his without ability yet to know segregation or separation, right? One leaf is the same as the other, and that leaf is part of him. It's accessible. He feels a connection to it for whatever reason, right? It is in and of him itself, right? Itself. Now, the practice of compassion is one of the very things that can steer us away from separation, that can create separateness. Now, compassion's a word that's getting tossed around a lot these days, you know, amen and thank you, right? Like mindfulness, like meditation, like consciousness. These words are starting to become part of the norm, which can never be bad. But compassion is like one of those words, it's like, well, what is it exactly? And how could that actually help me be part of everything? The communal, global, human family of all living things, and not separate from, right? And, you know, you look at these words that are similar, like empathy, right, and sympathy, right? So empathy is to feel what somebody else is feeling. Sympathy is to understand what somebody else is feeling. Compassion is both of those things, plus one's willingness to alleviate suffering. One's willingness to alleviate suffering for oneself and for all beings. So when we come into the state of a compassionate self, the willingness to see what is happening around us, the willingness to feel what is happening around us, but more importantly, the willingness to execute the attempt to alleviate suffering, it's bringing us all together. Right? It's making, just like the little boy that so easily chose to pick up the leaf and feel part of it, right? In a non-selective like way, right? The availability of us as humans, the human hearts coming together by our willingness to attempt to alleviate suffering for oneself and for fellow man, human family. And when we make these attempts, we're immediately shifting from a segregated separateness to a whole all-inclusiveness, where we are part of everything. We are part of everything, right? Everything is part of us. We are all one underneath the surface, underneath the preference and the selectivity. And it's not that we have to annihilate the part of the self that is selective and does prefer. We just have to keep in check and aware with it in such a way that that's not ruling us into a compartmentalization, right? Can you imagine that little boy going, no, I don't like that leaf, it's too spotted, and that one smells, and this one, right? It's just something there, and you grab it and you feel part of it. The connection that we have to everything that is natural, to everything that is alive, to everything that breathes, to everything, we are the everything. And when we realize the everything, just like picking up a leaf and holding it in our hands, we kind of recognize the miracle of life, and the ability to alleviate suffering is not like we all have to go out in the front lines and get medical degrees to take care of all of the people that have been affected by the COVID, right? We don't have to be these kind of warrior people at the front lines of battle to do the alleviating of suffering. There are many, many, many ways, and it's really just how we change our thought, right? How we change relationship to life itself, how we become completely part, to include, right? To include all beings. is part of us. Right? So the reason why I started with the image of the child is because we were all once that, right? At some point on our path, we knew not selectivity and preference. And once again, it's not that we have to eliminate it completely, right? I like the color yellow in my house. It makes me feel good. I don't have to get rid of that in order to become a more compassionate human being. I just have to check in that I'm not living in the barrier boundaries of what I like in such a way that it's separating me, right, from fellow man. And this attempt by sitting, by breathing, which we're going to do together in a moment, of really just being with one's humanness, rawness, wholeness, can be an act of alleviating suffering. You know, there's a certain generosity that is experienced here as we choose to sit together, right? That can be an act of alleviating suffering, right? So it's all in how the attitude and the approach, right? It doesn't always have to be this like grand gesture or nothing at all, right? If I can't, find the cure for the COVID virus, I cannot alleviate suffering. It's not like that black and white, right? There's always ways for us to attempt. So let's take some time to digest that, to integrate that, so that when we're done with our sit, we might be able to, walk the path just a little bit more open to everybody, just a little bit more aware of those that are suffering and how we feel it, and how we can take steps of alleviating it, right? Because I know it's overwhelming, right? And we can't think our way out of these experiences that we're in. We have to be willing to feel. And when we feel in a non-selective, non-preferential like way, we're hitting it, man. We're hitting the mark of humanity, right? So let's try to do that. Let's try to target, right, the heart, right? Move around a little bit. Couple cleansing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. One more. And then this willingness to sit in a very non-selective, non-preferential like way. Allowing yourself to experience the rawness of our reality right now. And we're going to support you in doing that. Let's attempt to do so by softening our skin, the outer sheath of the self. And then see if we might soften internally at the organs, the systems, particularly at the gut. Maybe soften through the ribs and the chest. And let's begin to take root into our reality by heavying through the base of our hips and descending down through the tailbone. This willingness to sit in what's there in a very non-selective like way, all-encompassing, all-inclusive. Right? Of course we have preference. Of course we have ideas on how we would like things to be going right now. Of course, right? But this act of just sitting in one's heart space, connecting to others that have heart space is so brave, right? The courage of the heart is a compassionate act. Maybe we can release the shoulders in such a way that we can just like let up on some of the guard, let up on some of the resistance. And maybe as the shoulders descend down, the chest could open just a tiny bit further. Maybe the waist can elevate, creating a sense of energetic expansion inside the body. And then let's go back to the soft skin, the soft entrance. And this act of just softening your skin, right? You're eliminating a little bit of your boundaries, right? A little bit of your selectiveness, a little bit of the fight right now, right? You're letting the world in, the whole world, not just the part that you like. That's the hard part, guys. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And if this hurts, if this is difficult, honor the challenge. And remember, you're not alone. We're doing this work together. And then let us become aware of our breath. So we ask the mind if it might just soften its thoughts, its hold for just a moment so that we can notice the breath. And as we notice the breath, let us give thanks for the breath. We're alive. And as we celebrate this gift of life, let's realize that we're not the only ones alive, right? Allow this breath to soften the internal self just a little bit more. Honoring the heart space that links us all together, right? A bunch of leaves on the ground. We don't have to be selective on which one we're going to pick up. We are part of all of them. And maybe we can let that breath come through just with a little bit more attention. The tiniest bit more effort, just so that we can really sense it moving inside the body. And maybe this breath can be an expression of one's compassion. The breath, right? Think about when you exhale, how it alleviates some of your personal strain, how it alleviates some of your personal load, how it alleviates some personal suffering, right? Not all, just some, right? And maybe we can breathe for mankind. Maybe we can breathe for the well-being of all beings. And maybe we can consider this a compassionate act that brings us all closer together as a human family. Less segregated, less separated through the breath. Empty your breath from your underbelly. And slowly breathe in. Retain gently. Gradually breathe out. Slowly breathe in. And gently retain. Gradually breathe out. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out. Retain. Release the lock of the underbelly, letting the breath go, letting the breath flow, move the body. And just for a few more moments, just sit in the essence of what it means to be alive and awake and aware of your breath, of your heart, of your intentions, but also of each other's breath, hearts, and intentions, right? That we can hold each other. We can hold human family together through this very, very subtle act of alleviating suffering. Let's not forget about the subtle approaches that we can do day in and day out. Right? It's from the intention. Slowly, gradually bring your hands together at the center of your heart. This gesture of gratitude, giving thanks for this practice, for this community, for this family of humans that goes beyond technology. This all-inclusive experience that we embark upon together. Let it matter. Of course, manager mind can argue and say it's not enough, right? But right now, it's what you are able to do, and that's all that matters. Right now, what you are doing is all that matters. So do it from a whole heart. Do it from a place of intention. May we alleviate the suffering of beings. Breathe in. No one human matters more than the other, right? No one leaf matters more than the other. It's all the same. We are all one. We are all part of the wholeness of this existence that we are blessed to be living. Namaste. Thanks for showing up. Showing up for you, showing up for us. If you feel like this might serve others. I encourage you to share it. You know, there's so many people that don't know we have this little community. So send it out, you know. Reach me, questions, comments, I'm here. Have the best day you can have today. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with an easy heart. Namaste.